Welcome to Talking Business. I'm Joe Catrombone, CEO of the Stuart Martin County Chamber of Commerce, and I've got a really special guest with me today. He's more like family than a member of the chamber, so to speak. And by the way, this is Tony Barletta with Brightway Insurance, and I'm going to let him give you a little bit about his background, but I want to give you a little bit of background and history with the chamber. We got to Stuart almost at the same time, within months of each other, in eons ago, 89, and it was an automatic. We clicked, and it's been that way ever since. He's from Pennsylvania. He's gonna get into this, but I want to give you a chamber background on him. So he was on the board for 4 or 5 years. He became chairman. He is the only board member we've ever had the distinction of being chairman twice, 2 years in a row. And there is even a law. We changed our bylaws, and we have a provision in our bylaws called the Barletta Rule, which allows someone who, after they term out, if the incoming chair agrees, they can stay on for an extra year. So that's called the Barletta Rule. And many of our board members take it because they term out in 6 years. They'd like to stay on another year. They enjoy our board meetings. Everyone tells us that, which makes me really happy. So anyway, that's his history with the chamber. He's got as much history as the chamber as I do. But I got the job.
That's well said. It's a great intro. But I'll tell you, my relationship through that Chamber of Commerce, which started in 1989, as Joe said, we moved here just around the same time, and I just was opening up a new business. I was opening up an all-state insurance agency, which I had never done before, in a town that I had never lived in because I had moved here from South Florida. And I just couldn't wait to join the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, it was something I saw my father do. I wanted to do it. I was so excited about it. And then I get there and I meet Joe. So now I know I really like this chamber because we have a whole lot in common. And that's another story for another day, but it's great. And as Joe says to many people, and it's true, I literally built my first business through that Chamber of Commerce. Yes, I had a little bit of money for advertising in other ways, but primarily my networking, my going to business functions, whether it be a breakfast, a business after hours, meeting people socially through the Chamber of Commerce, helped me build my Allstate agency, which I've never regretted, always enjoyed, and shared with many, many people in the business world as to how to help me. I was very, very proud of that. And I love Stuart Martin County Chamber of Commerce, the best I could say it.
And I use you and Tim Kinane, Elliot Paul, and others that I point to you as you're the perfect example of someone who knows how to use the system, who provide or uses the tools that we provide.
Right. And
you built not one, but 2 successful agencies, and now you're working on a third.
Yeah.
And so I use you as a perfect example. Here's a man that knows how to use the system. That's what we're here for. And this is such an old, boring story, but I always remember that if you go to Walmart and buy a fishing pole, right, you put it in the garage. You don't use it for a year. How many fish are you going to catch?
No fish.
Well, if you don't use our fishing pole, then you're not going to catch any fish. So
that's a great analogy.
Well, it's the truth. I mean, it's that simple. We're there to be used. Use us. Stories like yours you're a chamber exec's dream.
Joe, I think people just don't really take the time where they should in understanding everything that a Chamber of Commerce membership can do for them. It isn't just the business after hours, the breakfast. It's the committees that we have. It's the action committees that do things, whether it be in Tallahassee or locally, for our businesses. We're the advocate for the business owner who sometimes just can't get out and about and do that. And I think people sometimes miss that part of it. And that's a big advantage of really being active, learning what's going on, taking full advantage of it, and really and truly working your membership.
Yeah.
You've got to work it. It's your analogy of the fishing pole is perfect. You join the Chamber of Commerce, you give your check, you become a member, and you go and do nothing. Your results are going to be nothing.
Exactly.
Am I right? I mean,
yeah. I mean,
I oftentimes have people say to me, "Well, why are you a member of the Chamber of Commerce? Well, what do they do for you?" Oh, thank you for asking that question. Let me remind you what they've done for me. So, good point.
yeah. You let's talk a little bit about where you came from. You came from Pennsylvania. Your family had probably the largest contract with the state building roads and bridges, right?
I grew up in a really a beautiful town as a young man in the 50s.
You were just an infant, though.
I was just an infant. Hazleton, Pennsylvania, northeast section of Pennsylvania. I grew up in a family business. My father was in business with 6 other brothers, so there were 7 brothers in business, led by their father until he passed. It was a construction business in the sense that we were road builders, and we had everything to go with that. We produced our own sand and stone. We had our own trucking company to move it. We had our own pavers to pave it. So that's the primary part of our business. In addition to that, we had a concrete block yard where we made concrete blocks. It's where I got my life lesson on how to work at 13 to have to unload the block off the rack and put them in stacks.
I did that. I did, honestly.
I did too, so we know what it's like. Tough job, school of hard knocks. It's what my father taught me from the work ethic of how to give everyone a fair day's work, because your compensation is your paycheck. And in addition to my father being in business with his 6 other brothers, my mother was in business with 7 sister-in-laws. My mother owned an amusement park in northeast Pennsylvania. So people say, well, wait a minute, you said your father was in business with 6 brothers, and your mother is in business with 7 sister-in-laws. That's one too many. Well, it wasn't one too many. The 7 wives of the brothers took their orders from the brother's sister. That can be a little tough unless you're an Italian, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you get it. So it was a great growing up. I went from Pennsylvania. I was athletic, so to speak, let's say, and I ended up going to the University of Miami, where I played baseball at the University of Miami, and that brought me permanently to South Florida, even though we were somewhat snowbirds, because my father being in the construction business, we really spent a lot of the winters here because you can't pave roads. So we get homeschooled, things like that. Florida, when it was time to go to college, Miami was a natural for me. They had everything I wanted, the program, and the offer was great. So I relocated to Florida, and I've been here full-time since 1967.
And you were recruited by Tommy Lasorda to play for the Dodgers.
Yes, I was. Yes.
That's not a little minor thing.
I was pretty blessed to.
Yeah.
My athletic career, I tell all my friends who ask, I was very blessed. I played for really 3 great coaches in 2 different sports. So my high school basketball coach, which my high school basketball team in Little, Pennsylvania, we were the Pennsylvania Catholic League state champions 2 years in a row, and which I played on both of those teams. And my high school basketball coach was Digger Phelps. Most people in this current generation might know him from ESPN as a color announcer. His really claim to fame was after my high school, he went to Fordham and then 25 years at Notre Dame. I played for him. In college baseball, I played for Ron Frazier at the University of Miami. He was my coach. His nickname was the Wizard of college baseball. Ron was just iconic. And then, as Joe said, I signed my contract to play in the Dodger organization with Tommy Lasorda. And I've known Tommy, I knew Tommy, unfortunately just passed this last year, since I just was about 10 when he started watching me play baseball. So I was blessed.
Yeah, you were.
I was very blessed.
You were. So, and that's that's a great area of Pennsylvania. I love Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I went to school in Clarks Summit for a couple of years.
Not far from us.
Not far from here. And that's just a beautiful place in this world. The mountains and the streams, and I loved it. It's just a beautiful place. So, what brought you to Stewart? I mean, okay, you went to, how did you end up in Stewart?
Well, my career in the business world after baseball ended up being, I worked for one of the major airlines that unfortunately is no longer in existence due to...
That's right. You had a pretty interesting job with them, too. You really have been fortunate.
I worked for 17 and a half years for an airline that unfortunately is no longer around. I'll just call them the Wings of Man. Okay, people will know who that is. Saw things changing, had some opportunities, met a couple of people. My sister, my younger sister, was working for Allstate Insurance Company in Boca Raton. She was an up-and-coming young executive. And we went to a party, and I met the fellow who was running Florida, who she wanted me to meet. And when we did meet each other at this party, we both knew each other. And she said, well, how do you guys know each other? Oh, I said, he goes on a flight to Chicago every other week for Fort Lauderdale. He was an executive. Well, Allstate Insurance Company's home office is in Chicago, and he flew on a flight from Fort Lauderdale to Chicago, I think every other week, but maybe it was every month. So I just got to know the face, and we'd wave, and you'd see people. And so she introduced him to me, and we just started talking, and he said, hey, we're expanding. Would you like to become an Allstate agent? I had no idea what an Allstate agent was. So I go home and I tell my sister that's what he said. I said, what's an Allstate agent? She said, well, the guy I'm dating is an Allstate agent. I said, that young kid? She was, in a dating mode at those days. And I said, how's he doing? And she told me how he was doing. I said, I think I want to be an Allstate agent.
You made the right choice.
So I moved from Fort Lauderdale. The opportunity given to me at the time, this is 1989 when we both came here, was a pretty extensive path of where I want to open. And it started with Melbourne, and it went basically to just a little south of Boca. And everybody kept telling me about this town, Stewart. So I'd come up here a couple of weekends at a road just to see what it was like, and just fell in love with it. So in April of 1989, I opened up my first Allstate agency on Monterey Road, around the corner from the Chamber.
I remember.
And that was the beginning of this business career that I'm currently in. I've been in it since 1989. I had Allstate agencies, at the time 3, sold those, did a little project in between selling them, and then in 2010, I opened up my first Brightway insurance franchise. Brightway is a Florida-based franchise starting in Jacksonville by 2 brothers, and it's kind of like a superstore, a little different than my Allstate world. My Allstate world was I had one product at the time, just Allstate, and I saw the opportunity with the Brightway, where it was an agency that had many companies, lots of affiliations, and I saw the opportunity, and the rest is what I'm doing right now. So I love it. Very happy about it.
And I know you tried to retire, and that doesn't work, and that's why I'm still working, because I know it won't work. So I'm going to go in a different area now. I talked about this when your wife was on the program, about the day you came into my office. And you were the catch, the most eligible bachelor in Martin County.
Don't put me there.
You were burning candles at both ends.
I would say.
And I'll never forget, you came into my office and then you said, Bowen, you won't believe it. I had a date with a minister last night. And I won't say exactly what I said, but I basically said, boy, that's going to change your lifestyle. and it did.
It did.
And I told that story to Lynn. So if you want to touch on this, but you really went, and I'm not going to say you were a totally wild degenerate.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But,
hope the audience appreciates that.
Yeah, but you've become a man of God.
Yes, I have.
And do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I will tell you, and thank you for leading into that. And this is very important to me.
I know it is.
It's extremely important.
I know it is.
So, yes, I am married to Lynn Barletta, who is an ordained minister. But prior to meeting her, literally, and this is somewhat like divine intervention, I have a very dear friend in town. He's a physician who mentored me in the beginning of my faith by telling me, listen, there's some things that need to change in your life and be thankful for. And it was the grace of God. And he invited me to a Bible study, which I went to, and met some people who had said to me when they first saw me, we've been praying for you for 6 years to walk through that door. And I'm wondering, praying for me for what? I didn't know it then. I didn't get it, so to speak, what my faith means now. And that was like on a Wednesday. I just love this story. I actually meet Lynn on a Friday, 2 days later. So knowing that she was a Christian woman, I said, well, I'm a Christian. Really? She did ask the question, how long, thank goodness. It was only 2 days. Well, Lynn and I started...
Did you know how to spell it then?
Of course I did. Absolutely. But we had a wonderful courtship. Lasted about 6 months, and we got married. And I could tell you that part of my life, which has changed tremendously. Now, I was raised in a Christian environment, in a home. I went to a Catholic school for 12 years, so I wasn't far away, just was missing some of the integral parts that I now have. And now, 18 and a half years later, almost 19 years since that happened, I'm so very, very proud of that and how the Lord has changed my life, along with the fact that I now chair or host, I want to say I host a men's Bible study every Thursday morning at about 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. over in Lynn's Visionary Arts School and Visionary Church. It started with me and two other fellas 4 years ago. Yesterday was Thursday. We had 34 guys in the Bible study.
Wow.
Now, again, I'm very careful how I say this. I host it. There are many guys in that study who know a whole lot more about the intricacies of understanding and interpreting the Bible and how we to lead our life with it. But I learn every single week, and I love every bit of it.
So tell me about what do you talk specifically about things in the Bible? Do you talk about everyday life? Do you have regular conversations? So what's this? What's the meeting like?
We are truly a Bible-based study where we are currently, like right now, in the Gospel of Luke. We are not quick to move in anything. So we break down and we project what we're going to do the following week of how many verses we're going to study. And we break down the verse by verse as to what's being said here. And how do we interpret what was done in those days to help us lead a better life in today's world? What was meant when for example, when Jesus was talking to crowds? What was he meaning? What was the parable about? We're currently in Luke chapter 15. So we break it down with extremely in-depth conversations by everyone in the group. We throw a starter out there, and everybody gives their opinion, and they're men, all Christians, of course, yes, from 10 different churches. So they're not all from one church.
Not agnostic.
No, they're all from different churches, and it's a great study.
So what's really interesting, and I've had this conversation with a couple of people. Like you, I went to a Catholic school.
Yeah.
Our families are Catholic. Right. I never saw a Bible.
I have to agree with you on that one.
We didn't study a Bible when we had studied religion in Holy Cross.
We had a missal. This little book.
Well, we called it a catechism.
Catechism book, right? Exactly. Yes, same thing.
I knew what the Bible was. I heard about the Bible. I knew people studied the Bible. I knew people read from the Bible. But I was never introduced to a Bible until into my married life.
Well, I'll tell you how accurate you are in that, because I was the same way. When the fellow who invited me to that Bible study and kind of brought me to the Lord, by the way, he's a dear friend of mine, Dr. Peter Dayton, a physician here in town, OBGYN, semi-retired, as we all
never
right?
retired.
Never retired. I said to him after he invited me, this was on a Saturday morning, he invited me to the Wednesday Bible study. I said to him, You're inviting me. I'm coming. I don't have a Bible, but I'll be there. Late that Monday afternoon at my office, here comes a courier, UPS, FedEx, whatever it was, package for me, open it up, and it was a Spirit-filled Bible sent to me by Peter, which I still have and use to this day. That was my first Bible. I mean,
and you were, I mean, who thought? And my grandparents and my parents were. They weren't overly religious, but they were religious, good Catholic Christians,
Yeah.
but never discussed the Bible. Didn't know anything about
You
it.
know, Joe, we call it, we're not religious. You know, religious is kind of like law-based. We're not religious. We are,
More faith.
right. Our faith is one of which we do the principles of what was put out in front of us, and we don't live by law. You know, we're free about that, and we don't judge people. We're here to help and minister to people.
Well, that's great,
And I love that.
And I'm proud of you for doing
Thank you
that.
for that.
Yes.
I know that.
Yeah.
I know that means a lot for me to say, because I know you've seen me change. You've known how I was, and I need to tell the people in the audience what he said to me. Are you really dating a minister?
Well,
I said yes. He said, "Whoa! I want to see how that's going to go."
yeah, it was a little bit of a shocker.
Slightly.
So, one of the things you have an innate ability, and I've tried. You not only remember people's faces, you remember their names, you remember things about them, and I know that's your secret. I just don't know how you retain it, because I know when you meet someone, you'll want to ask them something that the next time you see them, it may be their dog that they talked about. The next time you see them, you're going to say, "Hey, how's Max? How's your dog doing?" Or "How was your trip to Vail? Did you enjoy skiing?" Do you know what a gift that is?
Well,
Is it something you can develop?
yes.
Because
Yeah.
I've tried. I even took a course
Joe-
on remembering.
You could actually do it. You know, here's how I did it in the beginning. So, when I worked at Eastern Airlines, I met lots of people, lots.
That's an interesting job you had too. But
Yes.
just as a quick, any celebrities came through the airport in South Florida, he escorted them. He took them out. That was
Yeah, it was a fun job.
what a great job.
A fun job.
But okay, so go ahead.
So they would ask me for my business card, and I would give them my business card. In return, I'd ask for their business card. Now, in our conversations, there may be some things that I would say to them, in getting to know them a little bit. Oh, great, what do you do for fun? Oh, I love boating. Okay. So now when they would leave, and I'd quiet time, I'd go into my office, and I'd take the back of their business card, and I'd put something about them. Maybe it was they love boating. Okay. So why did you do that? Well, let's just say on that rainy day when it wasn't really busy at work, I might go into my office and I had stacks of cards, and I would just look at the front of them and look at the back. Look at the front, look at the back. I do better seeing things than
Yeah,
hearing
me too.
things.
Yeah.
Okay? And I would do that. That worked for me. So when I would see, and I'd walk into, for example, the airport VIP lounge on a Monday morning, and there would be 70 regular commuters there, I felt pretty good about the fact that I knew all 70 of them. Okay, and they'd wonder at me sometimes how I remembered it, but I worked at that. So now I take that when I become an Allstate agent in the beginning of my career. Things were, as they have gone by the wayside, paper-driven in those days. We actually had applications.
Oh, yeah.
I had manila folders for everybody, and everybody who worked for me knew that the inside of the folder was mine. They could put anything else where they wanted, but I controlled the inside of the folder because I wrote my notes about the client there. Always has a pit bull. Loves this. Things like that. Loves gardening. Whatever the case might be. What's your children's name? Oh. So when I would speak to them or they'd call, I'd get the file out and it would spark my memory to have a conversation. And that worked well for me for my entire business career. I still do things like that.
Oh, I know you do. You're the best I've ever seen at it.
Thank you.
are
Thank you.
absolutely the best.
I pride myself on that.
Yeah, I've tried it, but I didn't. Here's the difference. I can't have a file Although I do have file, not on every member,
Sure.
but I have my contact list
Right.
in the computer. But that's such a wise thing to do, to open that file up, and then you have notes there. That's
So,
that's so you could put those notes on your contact.
absolutely right.
It's even easier than writing.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
To this day. So
Yeah.
there's a little section, narrative, that I control, or anybody who works for me controls, and we could put things in there about the client.
Yeah.
You know, don't talk about this. They like that. Why not?
That's
Come on,
what do people like to talk about most?
themselves.
Of course. So you'll give them the opportunity, and the impression is that you do care.
Sure.
But the impression, it shows that you care. You took enough time to talk about their kids or give them the opportunity. Great. That's absolutely great.
Joe, it could be a differentiator in today's world of service. Service,
No doubt.
We know that service is generally, go online, go to our website, do this, push this button, do that.
Or call an 800 number.
Here it
my
comes in the
favorite
mail.
thing.
You haven't seen anyone or anything. We still pride ourselves. I believe there's still a place for people, giving people extraordinary service. And then the real key is delivering. And I call in my business, and the staff and the people who work with me, the moment of truth is when that moment comes, when they really have that insurance policy we sold them work. It's called the moment of truth. Listen, when you're in my business and you come in and you buy a homeowner policy or an auto policy, you really leave with nothing. You might leave with a signed application, but you don't get to go play with it. It's not a toy.
Yeah.
It only works when you need it. Moment of truth. So that's important to me.
It is. That's what it's all about. That's why people buy insurance.
True.
You hope you never have to use it.
Exactly right. It's one of those things you don't have to, but when you do, it better be there.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to instill in anyone who works with me. I still love going to work. I still love inspiring people. Granted, I'm not the best at this stuff.
Oh, you know how I am. I burn that keyboard.
I got to tell you, I walk into Joe's office. It's a gimmick, but he's over at the board, and he's he's kind of like this, and I'll like run. I'll yell out to everybody else in the office, "Is there a bucket of water in here? I got to put the flames out." We have fun. It's the best I can tell you.
I really appreciate taking time out of your busy day. I know how busy you are, and you had to come up here, and I really appreciate it.
I love it.
I stole your idea with Joel from Two Men in a Truck.
Okay.
And I said, I learned something yesterday, a question I'm going to ask for now, and I'm going to say, what do you do for fun?
I do for fun. Spend it with my family.
And that's basically what Joel said.
Yeah, it's downloading my time with Lynn, my two boys, her two boys and their children, and with my friends.
Yeah.
I could say the cliche things. Oh, I love to do golf. I like to go fishing with friends, but it's really, for me, it's being with my family, connecting with them, and then of course, although this is a cliche, this is a true cliche. We're Italian, so it generally centers around mangiare, around food. So, what's the next meal going to be like? As he knows, and he can tell you because he can cook a lot of food. No, that's what I like to do for fun, and that's an important thing in my life.
Is there anything else we missed you might want to talk about?
I'm a little bit better golfer than you.
A lot better. I don't care if I ever play again.
We used to be halfway decent, right? 30 years ago.
So I hate it. And why do I put myself through that every Saturday? I say, why am I here? Get Najda.
We don't put ourselves through that anymore. I had a great time. This is a treat.
Good. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for doing what you're doing for the community. Talking business is important for the people. Listen, we are blessed in Martin County. We have active people in our community who love doing business. I hope you remember the Chamber of Commerce, because that's critical. It really is. It's your voice when you can't speak to the county commissioners, when you can't go to Tallahassee and speak on issues that are important for us in this county. So, Stewart Martin County Chamber of Commerce, go for it.
Thank you, buddy.
Love you.
Love you too.
All right.